Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Extension Master Gardener Coordinators online discussion. We've got a webinar today, and it's really exciting to see all of you here today. Just real quickly, I wanted to do a plug for the Master Gardener program. So we've got the national report has come in with almost 45, I believe 45 states that participated. We've got 5.6 million Master Gardener volunteer hours contributed by 88,000 volunteers. So thanks to all of you for all the hard work that you do to make the Master Gardener program a success. So just what we're going to do with our time together today, we're going to have a few announcements. We're going to have the presentation by Heather Stoven, and then we're going to have a wrap up. And if you can share in the chat box where you're from, and if you coordinate the county or the state Master Gardener program where you're at. And I'm going to stop the share so that if you want to turn on your video, you can get to see each other and wave to people who, it looks like we've got all the way from Washington over to Ohio. So maybe you can enjoy the view from somebody else's window if they get a window. So feel free to turn on your video if you want to say hi to folks. So it looks like folks are here from Washington, Idaho, Florida, South Carolina. So welcome, everybody. We're really excited to get to connect with you today. So I wanted to let Heather introduce herself, and then I'll pull up the slides.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Heather Stoven, and I am in Yamhill County, Oregon, and I'll have a slide or two about that so you can get to know a little bit about my program. But I'm really excited to be here speaking to you guys today, and I'm telling you a little bit about a program that I developed a few years ago. So I don't know, did you want me to, was there any more announcements, Susan, or are we getting started here? Okay, great. So okay, there we go. So a little bit about Yamhill County. So it's a relatively rural county, more or less. We're in Western Oregon, and so we have about 100 Master Gardeners in our program. So we're relatively small. I don't know if you can, I hope I have control of the screen here, Susan. I'm trying to kind of advance something on here, and it's not really working, but I did have a little circle there. Oh, there we go. It's coming. Okay, so maybe it's just slow. So there's Yamhill County. We're between Portland and Salem, but we're kind of off the interstate, so we're a little bit further out. So we're, like I said, we're kind of a smaller county. We're somewhat rural and agricultural, so we're kind of middle of Pinot Noir country. So if you like wine and wine tasting, we're the place to come to. But so as I mentioned, our county is relatively small. We have a relatively small Master Gardener program with about 100 individuals. And we have about, on average, 25 trainees a year. And so we probably could have a few more. We get some extra registrations, but then we only have so much size for our training space. So it's actually a pretty manageable number of trainees that we have. So, but this is going to probably affect, you know, if you were to put in some sort of training program for desk training or clinic training, you know, the size of your county is probably going to be able to affect, you know, what you may or may not be able to do. So just so you kind of have an idea of, you know, what my program looks like. Okay. So again, I'm trying to advance the slides. There we go. Okay, so we have about 700 calls or drop-ins or visitors to our Master Gardener clinic within the office every year. And so we have people on duty or volunteers on duty most of the time from April through October. And so we do, of course, have people that stop in other times of the year, but we kind of have a list of Master Gardener volunteers that are willing to kind of come in when needed. And so that's kind of what that looks like. We also have some off-site clinics and farmers markets and that sort of thing as well that we also staff with volunteers. But these classes are mainly for our desk clinic for people that come in and visit our office. Okay. So the purpose and why I decided to start up these classes is because we found that so I've been in the program or overseeing our program here in Yamhill County for about 5 years, or coordinating the program. And so prior to me starting in the position, we had someone who did the training, and they just did a lecture, the last day of class. And so, when I took over the program, that's what I started doing. But I felt that the material wasn't really well absorbed, and that people really wanted and needed hands-on experience on the desk, and that they weren't able to really kind of step into it like I would like them to be able to. Okay. So we also had some issues with staffing the desk. We always have some Master Gardener veterans or certified Master Gardeners who we try and have work with our trainees when they're on the desk. And so we just really had a hard time getting our certified Master Gardeners to sign up and work the desk. We also in Oregon have adopted the national certification standards for Master Gardeners, which means that we have for the certified Master Gardeners that they have a direct hour requirement, and then they have an indirect hour requirement, and then just support hours as well. And so they don't specifically have to put in clinic time, if that makes sense. They can get their direct hours through teaching or doing other things. And so since there wasn't a specific requirement, sometimes we had additional issues because of that. And so other things that we discovered is that we had some apprehension from our certified Master Gardeners on working the desk, since, as you probably know, many Master Gardeners are a little older in age, that perhaps they don't necessarily have some of the technology background and kind of feel uncomfortable with that. And so, like I said, as we kind of followed up with veterans about our Master Gardener veterans and certified veterans, why they weren't necessarily signing up for the desk and why they had apprehension, these were some of the reasons that they gave. They said that they were, they didn't feel good about being in a leadership role and coming to work the desk. So, okay, so back a few years ago is when I developed the classes. And seems like things aren't advancing very quickly here. Okay, so for the trainees, we developed 5 classes, and they're 2 hours in length. So it's like a series of classes that individuals do. And the classes are encouraged, but they're not required. And so we felt that as we've done this for a couple of years now, we feel like our mentors are really good advocates for the program. So many of them have now gone through the program, and they're able to kind of step up and say, trainees, this is really great. You should really take these classes because they really help you. And so that's kind of helped, I think, as well, that we're getting kind of that buy-in from our Master Gardeners, that they really want to do this and see it as valuable. So we're getting a lot of trainee participation. Another carrot that I kind of put out there is that those that take the classes receive their desk clinic hours, or receive some desk clinic volunteer hours. So if you were to take all 5 classes as a trainee, then you'd get 10 desk hours. And we have a 32-hour clinic desk requirement for trainees. We have 65 hours altogether in order to graduate, along with completing the classes and the exam. But in terms of clinic desk hours, there's 32 hours required. So, with that 10 hours in there, then they're able to, get kind of a start on it, but yet not necessarily, have all their hours done so that we don't have their help, throughout the busy season. So I feel like that's worked out really well. Okay, so for the timing of the classes, they're held in conjunction with the Master Gardener training. So our training is held between the months of, or beginning of January through end of March, as many programs are. And then we also hold these desk training classes kind of in the same time realm. So they start middle of February and end middle of March. And so it's during training season, which, you know, can make things a little crazy at times, but at the same time, it's kind of nice because then once our clinic desk gets busy in April, then we have all these individuals who are then trained on how to work the desk. So we have multiple class times that people can choose. So they can come in, you know, we have morning slots and afternoon slots and that sort of thing. The bad thing about it is that we don't have evening slots at this point in time. And one of the reasons being that, of course, our clinic desk is in the office, so we'd need to have staff people there to be there as well. And so that's kind of a challenge at this point in time. But I think it would be beneficial if possible to do that. And then they're offered multiple days during the week so they can choose days and times and that sort of thing that work for them. And then we also have our certified veteran Master Gardener training classes as well for the desk. And these are held more like late spring, April, May, that sort of thing. So we kind of do those after the main training season is over. Okay, and so the instructors for the classes are can be Master Gardener support staff. So I have a support person that works for the Master Gardener or works with Master Gardeners, part of her position. And so she will teach some classes. We have Master Gardener mentors who will teach some of the classes, and then I also will teach a couple classes as well.
So I've just put a poll in here. Some folks have been adding a little bit about their help desk, but if everyone wants to let us know if they have a help hotline or a help desk, and just tell us a little bit about it. Maybe if you know how many calls and emails you're getting each year. It sounded like Heather was getting 600 in the midst of all this training. So feel free to share in the chat box what your hotline or desk numbers are. Back to you, Heather.
Okay. Okay. So it looks like there's quite a bit of variability out there. I see a few responses that, you know, some people have thousands of clients and questions answered throughout the year. Some not quite as many. So, you know, obviously every county is going to be different, but yeah, this is, like I said, something that we've been using in our county, but yeah, it's kind of interesting to read through the comments and see what people are doing. So thank you for sharing. And if you haven't shared, feel free to, you know, continue and add in there. So what we're doing in terms of the classes themselves. So the first class that we have, as I mentioned, there's 5 for our trainees. So the first class is a little bit about, you know, what do you do on the desk? What is this all about? You know, what kind of questions might you get, or who might be coming in and how might they be asking the questions? We have intake forms, you know, for taking clientele questions. So how do you go about filling those out, and how do you do that so that people following up, you know, will understand what's going on in the whole process. And then hopefully you can kind of see there in the pictures as well that that's a picture on the bottom there of our Master Gardener room where they handle the questions. And so Michael is our mentor that's there teaching the class, and he's kind of showing them about how to, you know, use the insect cabinet, which there's a photo of there, and how to use that resource. We have a lot of books in our library. So, you know, what's the system for that? How do you find a book that you're interested in, or that's, you know, about identifying plants or insects? You know, how does that system work? And so it's just kind of a general get to know the space and, you know, what do we do in the Master Gardener room. Okay, so class 2, we do a little bit about, you know, answering phones and protocols. If somebody calls you, you know, what do you say? Because I think a lot of times people will kind of have the deer in the headlights reaction. You know, somebody calls them up and they're like, okay, now what do I do? And so, you know, how do you go about answering the phone? What do you say? how do you check the voicemail. We also have some resources in our office. We have an extension publication cabinet. And so, as I kind of mentioned, some master gardeners have a little bit of a phobia of computers, or they're not really sure how to use them all the time. And so we do have many of our publications printed out and put in cabinets and that sort of thing for that. So they'll show Eileen there showing people where that is and how to use it. You know, how do you use the copy machine, that sort of thing, that are, you know, the resource that we have in the office. Okay, the third class is more of a computer orientation. So, you know, a lot of individuals have some issues with, you know, opening links or putting in links or attachments or that sort of thing. You know, how do you, what is the password for the computer? How do you check the email? That sort of thing. So some of that information obviously is, you know, more towards individuals that don't have quite the experience. And of course, we do have all levels of experience with computers. So some of that information might be, you know, basic for some individuals taking the program, but then we have some information as well that's really useful for everybody, such as, you know, what are appropriate websites to use when doing internet searches. You know, we have an extension, a publication website at OSU. You know, where is that? How do you access it? What kind of publications might you find on there? How do you do site searches for university information and that sort of thing? And then we have online sign-up calendars. So Jade will teach these classes, and she'll teach, you know, how do you sign up for these calendars so you can sign up to use the desk and that sort of thing. As well as we have an online volunteer hours reporting system in Oregon. So how do you sign up for this so that you can enter all of your hours for your Master Gardener volunteer time? What sort of activities go in what categories, and that sort of information. Okay, the class 4, we have a herbarium in our office, which you can see Eileen demonstrating in that picture above. We have a lot of weed samples and that sort of thing in there, so that's a good resource for those working the desk. So, you know, how do you find, you know, different kinds of weeds if you're, you know, have a sample that came in and you're looking for a, you know, to identify something. So how do you use that? We also do pH testing for homeowners. And so, you know, we need to teach how to do that. And then we also kind of talk about some of the limitations of the pH testing, because it's just kind of a kit. And so, you know, we can tell them what the pH is generally, but, you know, what are the limitations of that? And, you know, they may want to, of course, go and get a sample done in a laboratory so they know, you know, how to amend their soil and that sort of thing. We have an insect committee with our Master Gardener program. And so we often will save samples for the insect committee to check out. So how would you preserve, you know, a caterpillar versus a different kind of insect or something like that, so that the insect committee can look at it. And what are the procedures, you know, in terms of saving a sample for them, or do you handle it on your own, that sort of thing. And then we also have some dissecting scopes in our office, one of which has a camera attached to it. So it's really nice for if there's something that we can't really identify, you know, they can forward it on to me, and I can send it on to campus to experts to have things identified. So for the last class, it's often been kind of a, you know, wrap-up class, just generally go over intake forms again and then work through some sample problems. This year, we kind of mixed it up a little bit, and we decided to do some of the practice intakes and practice scenarios the last day of class. And then instead, we did an off-site clinic setup, because one of the issues that we had last year was that we really had a hard time finding people to sign up to set up for farmers market and set up for off-site clinics, because they didn't know how to set up the tent. They didn't really know what to bring to the clinic. They didn't really know, you know, we found that we had some, you know, issues later on with things that weren't brought there, or they would leave the intakes in the bag and we'd find them 2 weeks later. So things like that can happen. And so this year we tried to mix it up and added that training, that last training class. And so we're hopeful that perhaps we'll get more people signing up this year, and hopefully people will be less intimidated by doing that activity. So we tend to, like I said, we tend to kind of change things as needed as well. So we'll see how this goes. And so as I mentioned before, another issue that we had was having our certified veterans sign up, and because they also were feeling kind of apprehensive about the desk. So we have a 2-course series for our certified veteran master gardeners. And so these have been really well attended as well. So it was nice to see, because you never really know, we decide we're going to put together these courses, both for trainees and for recertified veterans, but, you never really know, if people are going to actually sign up and want to do it, but actually they've been really popular. And so the first class that we have for our recertified veterans is just kind of general orientation and going over the pH testing. It's kind of nice because this is a good opportunity to go over any new changes or protocol changes. Like we've had changes in laws for, for hemp and for cannabis and that sort of thing. So this is kind of a good opportunity to inform veterans about what you're supposed to do now when things change. And so otherwise, you can set up emails, and sometimes people read them and sometimes they don't. And so this is just kind of a good way to get people in the know, especially for our recertified master gardeners that are kind of supposed to be taking the lead on the desk. The second class that we have is more about technology. So this is kind of addressing those individuals that said that they don't really want to come in because they don't feel comfortable checking email or working on the computer or that sort of thing. So this is kind of specifically more for them. So how do you put in an attachment, and how do you check the email, and that sort of thing. And so it's kind of nice with these classes. You can kind of see the picture in the bottom there on the slide that we can probably only fit 5 or 6 people in the room, maybe 6. It's kind of a crowded space, but it's good in a way having the classes small, because it's really can be kind of one-on-one time where people can feel, good asking questions, and, it can be kind of driven by that class a little bit and see, what do they really need help with. So in that way, it's good. I mean, I guess the bad thing about the space is you have to do more classes, of course, but that's kind of what those veteran master gardener classes look like. And so I also do an advanced desk class. And so what I'll do for this class is I will bring in some samples. I'll usually bring in a plant identification sample, an insect sample, a disease sample, and then we'll work through how you would do that. I think, that's obviously something that it takes a lot of practice working the desk, but I kind of go through, what is the process that I would go through? What are some of the books I might use, or what are some of the online resources I might use? So I think people kind of like that and working through the problems. And then after the classes are held each year, we will send out a survey to everybody. And, personally, of course, I'm always interested in, are you going to change how you might approach the desk? I also really want to know, what people liked or didn't like, what worked for them and what didn't, so that, as I said, I'm always kind of mixing it up a little bit. And so I'm kind of interested in ways to always improve the classes. So we've had, so we've done 3 years worth of classes at this point in time, and we've had over 80% of trainees attend at least some of the classes each year. So we've had really consistently high participation. And on average, trainees are attending about 4 out of 5 of the classes. So those that, or at least those that do attend, are attending 4 out of 5 of them. We've had really good feedback and comments on there. People are finding that the classes are really valuable. They're saying that they help them, feel more confident, that they feel like they know what resources to use. They feel like they know where to start when they get there on the desk, and how to answer questions a little bit better. They felt like the classes reinforced their desk training lecture. So I still do give a desk training lecture on the last day of class. Obviously, not everybody is able to attend the classes, but it's good for me to still go over all that information, but I think people are absorbing it a lot better, and it makes more sense to them when they hear that lecture. And then we're finding that participants, for the most part, are going to change, with their interaction with the public, and they're going to be able to feel like they can answer the questions a little bit better that they're getting. Okay, so for the certified master gardeners, those classes were also relatively popular. I think So especially that computer class that we offer, there's a lot of people that wanted to take that one. We had about 25% of our Master Gardener veterans take at least one of the classes, which I think is pretty good considering, you know, even though we have 100 Master Gardeners, many of those aren't always active all the time. So I don't know, I felt really good with the number of certified Master Gardeners that came to the class. Many just wanted kind of a refresher because maybe they just come in every once in a while, or they will often get their direct hours from going to a farmer's market or something like that. So if they don't come into the Master Gardener desk as often, they may not know, you know, what some of the new protocols and that sort of thing are. So many of them wanted to learn that information. We also had some individuals that had kind of a higher level of anxiety with coming in to work the desk. And so I was really happy that some of those individuals did come in. You know, those individuals that might say, you know, I don't like using computers, I don't want to use them, and, you know, it can be a hindrance for them wanting to come in. And so we found that some of those individuals that did come in, you know, now they're regular working, you know, they work on the desk a lot more often. Some, you know, they still don't really want to come and work the Master Gardener desk in the office, but many of them did, you know, change and want to become more comfortable and work in the office more often. So, you know, it has worked in that way, but not for everybody, but for the most part. And then, like I kind of said before, it's good to have that one-on-one time with everyone, and kind of helps to clear up some misinformation that can be in there about, you know, how do you do certain things. And so we're able to work a little bit more directly with people about how we want things handled when on the desk. All right, so this is just some of the data that I had from the surveys. So it's just Master Gardener confidence before and after taking the class. So this is from 2017. And so the orange is confidence before the classes, and the green is after the classes. And then I have both veterans and Master Gardener trainees shown there. And then the confidence ratings, the, you know, low end of the spectrum is, you know, I'm feeling very unconfident in working the desk versus moderately unconfident. You know, at 2, a 3 is kind of like middle of the road, neither confident or unconfident. 4 is moderately confident, and then 5 is extremely confident. So you can see that people are starting out kind of in the moderately unconfident to kind of neutral range, and then after the classes, they're feeling a lot better and feeling like they're more moderately confident being on the desk. And so this next one is just showing the same trend for 2018, so we don't really need to go over this too much, but I just wanted to show that multiple years in a row, we're finding that, you know, people are starting out just kind of not feeling great about, you know, coming in and working the desk, and then after the classes, they feel, you know, a lot better about it. And this is just this year. We haven't done our certified Master Gardener classes yet. They'll be coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So, you know, as I said, they're just kind of, our trainees started out, you know, moderately unconfident, and they're, you know, heading out of the classes being far more confident than when they started. So some of the things that we've seen coming out of doing this training is that, as I mentioned, we really had a hard time with our certified Master Gardeners coming and wanting to work the desk. We were constantly sending out emails and saying, we need somebody, you know, for Tuesday afternoon or whatever, you know, the time schedule may be. And now we've been able to put together a really good schedule. We have a much deeper list of individuals that are willing to come in, and we have a schedule that they've signed up regularly. It's just been a lot easier on us in the office, kind of keeping track of what's going on in there, because we have a lot of people who have been well trained who are willing to come in and work the desk. As I said, trainees and veterans as well actually are feeling more prepared and more confident to come in and work the desk. We've been able to demonstrate policy and procedure changes a little bit better than we have been in the past, so that's been really good. There has been some, you know, challenges as well, which is the next slide. It's obviously, as you can imagine, it's a little bit time consuming for both the instructors and for the trainees or the certified Master Gardeners to come in and take the classes. And so, you know, it's something that, like I said, we're still having positive results with, but we've mostly had positive comments, in our surveys, our evaluations. But, the couple negative comments that we've had has been towards, this is a busy time, we're already doing training and that sort of thing. So we have heard that before. And so, we're trying to take that into account. And it's also challenging for Master Gardeners that don't have a flexible schedule. As I said, we don't have evening classes at this point in time for these classes. So those that aren't able to come in, during office hours, it can be kind of a challenge. Another challenge that we've seen is that, of course, it makes sense that people are still going to need practice when they come in and work the desk. It's not like it solves every single problem. Some of our mentors or veteran Master Gardener who work the desk regularly, some have said they can really see a difference with those who have been through the classes and have not. And I've had other mentors who have said, yeah, they may feel a little bit better about it, but they still need some hand-holding, getting through the process, and as you start to work through all the samples that are there. And I think especially as you deal with, if you have a week that's really busy on the desk and, the weather's nice or something, and so you have all kinds of people that are bringing things by, it's good to have some training so people kind of know where to start, but at the same time, you need the veteran there to kind of, or the certified Master Gardener there to kind of help walk them through a little bit still. Another challenge is that we have different skill levels with trainees, which I think everyone's going to kind of deal with. You have, some individuals that maybe don't have the computer skills versus some that do. And so, we haven't really had any comments about it from people that say that things are moving too slow, but I imagine that that could be an issue. And then, as I said earlier, we kind of have limited facility space, that our room is kind of small, but that's kind of why we started it this way too. Our Master Gardener room is small enough that, one way to maybe deal with this might be to, maybe if you had time during the classes, you could bring people in and have them, check out the desk for a little bit, break up into groups. But, with the number of trainees we have and the space we have, logistically, that would be kind of a challenge as well. But I know it's something to kind of think about. So for next year, we've decided to try and do 3 classes instead of 5. We're going to, I think, try and reduce maybe if there's any duplications, try and condense things a little bit more and try and do 3 classes to make it a little bit easier for our trainees. And like I said, we're always just kind of changing things. So we'll see how that goes. It actually has gone pretty well doing 5 classes, other than it being kind of a time commitment. But we're going to see what happens if we try 3 next year. So I don't know, in conclusion, we found this to be overall a pretty helpful process to do the classes, and they are increasing our trainees and our veteran Master Gardeners' confidence and comfort for working the desk and making it a little bit less scary when they hear they have to, help solve gardeners' problems. I think a lot of people get kind of freaked out by that. But we found out that, of course, people still need, they need practice. They need to, get through it a little bit better. I had somebody actually kind of unsolicited yesterday, a trainee, say that, she's worked the desk a few times now that we're, getting closer to May. And she said, oh, this is, I'm starting to feel good about this. And she said, the desk classes, really helped me to feel like I knew where to start on things. So that was really nice. And I didn't tell her I was doing a webinar about it today. So she kind of came up with that on her own. So it was really nice to hear that she had valued the classes. She felt it made it easier to come in and know what to do. I felt it's been really good for opening up communication between the office and Master Gardeners and making sure that procedures are being followed. They feel more comfortable coming to us, I think. And then, like I said, we've had an increase in participation from certified Master Gardeners who took the classes. So that's been really nice to see. We have more people available to help out. So yeah, so Susan had put in the chat box about if there's any takeaway that you're going to put into place, or if there's anything that she found, that might help you. I'd be really interested to know if there's anything in here that or even things that you might suggest for us, things that you've tried that might work well.
Great. And while folks are sharing in the chat box what one takeaway is that you're going to put into place in your program, I'll just fast forward to Heather's contact information, which I'm sure she'll put in the chat box as well, because I'm sure people are excited about this topic. The national report that I mentioned of the Extension Master Gardener program, there were 99,000 hotline contacts last year, and that's just for those states that were reporting it, which aren't a lot of states. And so this is a really relevant topic because this is something that master gardeners do. So does anybody want to share, you can unmute yourselves, share with us what one takeaway is for us to put in place for your Hotline Master Gardener program? And if you don't mind, I can. So it looks like Andy West was saying to make a regular training program for their clinic. How about somebody else? What's one takeaway you're going to put in place in your Master Gardener program? Howard said, going to share with our office clinic team as they've been looking for ways to increase clinic training, and that there are opportunities for refresher sessions with these experienced Master Gardeners. Anybody else want to share either in the chat box or by voice in the discussion here about what a takeaway is for your helpline or hotline program? Looks like Pat said that there are better opportunities for refresher sessions. And Lauren said that they don't have an office clinic, but if they do a training program, that would help us. So does anybody out there want to unmute and share with us a little about their hotline or their helpline?
Like we have some shy people out there.
That's okay. Who wants to share about their hotline that they have now that you've heard about Heather's program?
I'll go ahead and do it.
Go for it, Andy.
So ours, we have an area in our office where we've got the Master Gardeners come. We've got a library. We've got a computer station for them to work with. We've got multiple microscopes back there for them. They really like the dissecting microscope, and then we've got one of the little Avon scopes that they like to use to take the pictures with, to just keep the documentation. We get lots. I can always tell when the weather warms up outside because that's when all the calls and everything come in.
Right.
Or all the emails, and we have them. They come in right now. We run our clinic usually May through October on Thursday afternoons. That's when we have our clinic run. And then I also help coordinate 2 other counties' clinics. And so this is my first year being the coordinators for this area. So I'm actually implementing a training this year. In fact, I'm actually going to do a training program on Saturday with our Master Gardeners before our clinic begins in May. So great. I was really interested in this program just to kind of make sure I was in line. And so I really like the regular occurrence of having that all the time. So I'm looking at implementing that in our program.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Does anybody else want to share about their hotline that they already have in place?
This is Howard Volan from Snohomish County, Washington State. We basically run an office clinic all year round, 4 days a week in the winter, 5 days a week during the gardening season, 6 months from 9 to 4 in the summer and 11 to 3 in the winter. So we go through a lot. We also run 15 to 20 clinics out in the field. So we do a lot of clinic work, and we have all our master gardeners have a clinic requirement from the time they take training. I was particularly interested in this because we have been looking at ways to increase interest and confidence, particularly as we've lost staff members that we had in the, sorry, my phone is ringing. So to me, this is a good idea. I'm going to work with our office team. Sorry, I'll deal with it. So yeah, the biggest, and we also, I think the other thing is we have people who sign up for quarterly shifts, and they work every other week. And we get people, so we get consistency of people who work in the office clinic as opposed to our clinics in the field. And those are probably some of the major differences. Otherwise, equipment and everything, we seem to have much of what everyone else has: microscopes, cameras, and so on. So
Great,
yeah,
thanks,
great
Howard.
program. Thank you.
Did anybody else want to share about their help desk? Annie, it looks like you're unmuted. I didn't know if you wanted to chime in.
Yep. I'm new at the I'm new at the Helpline coordinator, the committee chair. So we are in New Jersey, and our Helpline runs from April to October, and we're just starting a diagnostic desk where the people can come in. Our horticulturist was the one that was identifying the problems, like if someone brought in weeds or plants to get ID'd. But we're starting a new program where the master gardeners are going to be the ones that are going to be helping her and identifying the plants that come in. So it's a new challenge for all of us. So, but we do like Helpline training. We do it with our master gardeners, and we do it as a group. But I do like the idea of doing smaller classes, like training, like in our actual room, because we do it like in our kind of like our auditorium. So we do like role play and like pretend, like one person pretends they're a caller and how can we help you. But if you're not in the room, I think it doesn't help because you don't know where to look. You know what I mean? So, but I like the idea of having like a smaller group in our master gardener room. I think that would be good. So that's all.
And Heather, back to you. I know that it sounds like one step that some folks need to take is simply starting to count the number of calls and emails that they get. So maybe you could share with us about what you use to track that. And then it also sounds like another tool that other folks could use is the confidence survey that you shared, that if other people are doing a training, to look at some of the questions that you were asking in your survey.
Sure. So, I mean, we just have, I don't know if any of you have had this issue, but sometimes as you get into October, it can be a little bit slower on the desk. And so you're kind of trying, if there isn't clientele coming in to ask questions. So I've had them kind of sort through the intakes a little bit. So we keep them all in binders for a certain amount of time. So I've had them kind of go through, and when it was slow, kind of, and people have signed up for the desk, have them kind of sort through things. So that's kind of how I come up with that about 700 number, as I've had people kind of sort through them a little bit and look at them. And it's kind of nice to have that data and have them categorized. We get this many insect samples and this many plant ID samples. So it's just kind of, and then you kind of know what to train about and what's important and that sort of thing. Trying to think, oh, and then what was the other question about the survey or something?
Yeah, if maybe you
survey?
could share your survey questions that other people could use those, because
Sure.
it sounds like some other people have a level of training that they offer, but maybe they're not asking questions about how confident people feel with that information. Right.
So, I mean, I think generally how it was worded was kind of put in the slides, but yeah, I had some questions about, what did you feel confident prior to, taking classes about working the desk? or, did you have anxiety about working the desk? And then after the classes, then I'd ask them, now how do you feel about working the desk? What is your confidence level? And then just some open-ended questions as well, where people could put in their comments about, what did you feel was missing? What, is there anything that you felt that we focused on too much or something like that? So there's some open-ended, and then there was some specific questions about, your confidence and, what you might do differently on the desk that you wouldn't have done before, that sort of thing. So it wasn't real long. It's maybe, I think it's a page and a half or something like that. So just kind of a quick survey that I had people do after they were done.
What other questions do people have for Heather? I know this is a hot topic because it's hard, both the confidence piece and the hotline piece. So what other questions do folks have for Heather?
Yeah, but if you come up with a question later on, you can certainly contact me. I think I put my information in the chat part, and then it's also in the slides. So if you go back and view the recording, you can also see how to contact me there.
It looks like one question is coming in specifically about how to manage or how to incorporate people who work full-time and can't help with the Monday through Friday help desk shifts.
Sure. So we do have, as I mentioned, we have some farmers markets off-site. So those, they're during the week as well, but they have later times. So that's one way, that people can get some hours. We also, most of our off-site clinics that we have for community events are often on weekends or Saturdays. So there's some events with a local high school that are on weekends, and there's some events at, just local events and festivals or garden centers. Oftentimes we'll have clinics at garden centers when they have a particular event. So we're able to do a lot of off-site things. It's a little bit harder for those that, for coming in to work in the office. So that we kind of need to, I often will work with people individually if I can to try and work out some sort of system. I think we kind of talk to individuals as well when they're starting the program. If they're not that flexible with their schedule, then we kind of say, well, we do have a clinic requirement. They can do some clinic hours, off-site, but we prefer if they can do at least some in the office. And so we just try and be flexible and work with people as much as possible.
And it looks like Katie said that answer is awesome, and that Katie said that they use a Google Doc to track the number of contacts that they make with their help desk. Anybody else have additional questions for Heather? It's like we need to hire you to come on the road and do training in our areas. Any other questions for Heather at this time? Cool. So I'll just do a quick reminder that these monthly webinars are all recorded and posted to YouTube. So this one will be posted shortly to this very long link. You'll get an email about that. And then if you aren't yet signed up for the Extension Master Gardener Coordinator updates, this is a really great way to stay in the know about what's going on with your fellow Extension Master Gardener coordinators. So this is at the extension.org/people/communities/362 website to sign up. And so join our community, and thanks for all that you're doing, everybody. We're trying to extend the resources that we have within Extension, and Master Gardeners helping at help desks is a really big part of that. So thanks for all that you do. Thanks to our speaker, Heather, and we'll see you all next month. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everyone, for participating. I appreciate it.
Thank you.